So good to see all of you again. We're going to be doing our lesson today on routine 25, which is open syllable for multisyllable words. Okay, so using the a lot of our multisyllable words are going to have an open syllable. Okay, you kind of be practicing with that. And you may have seen these cards in your classroom. We're using the nonsense words. Okay, so none of these are real words. But a lot of times when we're reading, especially as we get up into 4th and 5th grade and middle school, there's a lot of words that we've never heard of or never seen. And we have to be able to read those. And the only way we know how to read those is not to say every sound, but to break them apart into their syllables and analyze their syllable type. Okay? So that's why these are so important. Okay? So there's a rule, if you think back to when we first did, talked about open syllable. And let's review the definition. Open syllable, this is the symbol that you use with your hands, was an open hand, open syllable. There's 2 points. An open syllable is one vowel followed by nothing, no consonants, no other vowels. And the vowel sound then is long. It's like the door is open, and so that long sound keeps going, okay? Of course, in a multisyllable word, within the word, your open syllable will be followed by something. But when we talk about an open syllable, it means that when we divide the word and cover up the other half of it, you'll be able to see that the vowel is open. Okay? The rest of the routine is still the same. We look at our word. And and I forgot to mention, make sure you have something to write in front of you if you need to pause and do that, because I'd like you to write down each of these words. Okay? So maybe you pause and you've got some paper or whiteboard in front of you, so go ahead and write the first word down. It's S-M-O-T-O. Okay? And the first thing, of course, you're going to take your fingers and point, not the special little fingers I have, so you point to the first 2 vowels you come to. And you can see they're right there. And in a lot of these, we are going to find just one consonant between. And here's where you'll have to do some thinking. The general rule is if you point to both vowels and you have only one consonant in between, the division is before the consonant, okay? That's the general rule. However, there are some words that it will be divided after the consonant. So we might even divide them both ways because it changes how it is said, okay? And so if you don't know the word, always just divide it before the consonant. But then if you pronounce it and it's maybe it's a word you know and it sounds a little funny, then try it the other way. Okay, so there is some thinking involved in an open syllable. Okay, so just assuming that we are going to divide before, I would cover up this part of the word. That leaves that as an open syllable. So we would pronounce this part smo. Okay, and I'm going to move over here. What kind of syllable type is that? That also is open. Okay, and so I would pronounce that toe. Don't anybody say, but that's the word too, because we're not chunking. We're really just looking at the syllable type when we figure out words this way. Okay, so we would now read that word as smoto. Smoto. Remember, these are not real words. Okay. Now, say for instance, actually, I'm just going to write a word over here because this is a word that is a real word, and I'm going to show you what I mean by having to try it maybe the other way. Okay. So we'll take this word, and you all probably kind of know the word, but if you look right here, there's our 2 vowels, and I've just told you to always remember to divide before the consonant. So if on that word we divide before the consonant, that is row, so it's open, bin. And so we would read this word as robin. Now, if you know that word, you know that's incorrect, isn't it? We don't see a robin outside our window as a sign of spring. We see a robin. We actually would be dividing it after. And you see how that changes how we would pronounce it, because then it becomes a closed syllable and a closed syllable. Okay? So when you're dealing with open syllable words, you might have to try reading the word both ways. Okay? So if we divide this word after, we would read it as what? Smat-o. Okay? Smat-o. So depending on how you've divided the word, it does change it. Okay? The rest of the words we're all going to divide before the consonant. Okay? So on your paper, write these letters. S-N-A-S-I-P. Okay? All right. So I'm going to point to the first two vowels we come to. I see them right there. I see an S in between. Tell your teacher the rule. One consonant gets divided in front or before it. Okay, so we're going to divide right there. And there's our open syllable. How would we pronounce that, everybody? Snay, because that vowel is open, it's long, snay. And then we would pronounce this, that's a closed syllable word, so that would be sip. And our word, with our eyes down, looking right at it, snay sip. Snay sip. Do you see how I kept my eyes on the word? Very, very important. I'm sure you're tired of teachers and myself asking you or reminding you to keep your eyes on the word when you're reading. Super important. All right, here's the next one, a very short word. Write this on your paper. L-O-B-I. Those of you that are really picking up, I bet you already figured out where to divide that. So I would like you just to go ahead and write that and divide it where you think. Okay. And then cover up half of it and kind of whisper the first syllable to yourself and the last syllable to yourself. Okay. Let's read it together out loud. Eyes on the word. Low-by. Low-by. You would have divided it right there because we're following the regular rule. And so that ends up with that word being two open syllables. Okay, just like when we first divided this one, it had two open syllables. Okay, all right, let's look over here. We've got some more. This is our next one. A lot of letters to write. B-R-I-W-H-O-P. Go ahead and write those. Okay, we're ready to do this. So we're going to point with our fingers to the first vowel and the second vowel. So I see a vowel I and an O, and I'm going to look between. And I look between and I see a WH, and I think, that's an even number of letters. I can divide it in half. Oh, I heard some of you say, but wait, Mrs. Markman, that WH stays together, and yes, it does. Because if I divided this in half, then I'd have to end this word with the W, and that would be kind of weird. And so we're keeping these together. So the WH really are acting like one consonant, aren't they? They're a digraph. And so we're going to divide it between the I and the W. Okay? And so as I put my card right here, how would that be pronounced? Bry, because it's an open syllable. And then when we look at the end of the word, we see a closed syllable because I see that one vowel followed by that one consonant. So it's a closed syllable, and it's whop. So let's read our word together. I hope you read it out loud. Let's read it again together now. I'll read this time with you. Bry-wop. Bry-wop. Remember, these are pretend words, but you know, it is kind of a fun game to maybe make up some definitions for some of these if you have some creative time. All right, let's look at our next word. Okay, I'm sure you're getting to be pros at this. Write down these letters. F-R-I-D-A-G. Okay, got it written down? Look at your word and decide where to divide it. Go ahead and draw that line. Okay. Hopefully you pointed to each of your vowels. You saw one consonant in between, and you did the division in front of that consonant. Okay, so we got ready to read our words. Okay, I should have heard you say fry, dag, and if we read it all together, it's fry-dag. And I'm fairly certain if this word was in a book, a lot of you would very quickly say, what says Friday? okay? Because you look at this part of it and that's a word you know. So it's so important to look at the letters because it probably isn't the very first word you think of, especially when we're talking about multisyllable. Okay, let's look at this one. You're going to write down P-L-A-P-I-L-T. Okay. Once that's written, find your vowels and divide. Okay, hopefully you divided right here. Okay, and that leaves us with the first syllable is open, pronounced play. The last syllable is closed, and be very careful of that L and T. Sometimes that's a tricky part to say, so we have to make our mouth say the sounds in the order the letters are. So I would pronounce that pilt, pilt. Hear all of my sounds? And then we need to read the word, and our eyes are on the word as we read it. Play pilt, play pilt. Make sure you're saying the ult at the end. This is the word I'd like you to write and do for your teacher. So go ahead and write down H-U-P-I-S-H. And I would like you, after you've divided it and read it, then to divide it the other way that it could be divided. Kind of like when I showed you in the word robin. And pronounce it both ways for your teacher. Okay? So she or he can hear what it is that you are understanding the concept of how we divide multisyllable words that include open syllables. Okay? All right, thanks for doing such a great job today.